Okay, so we're gonna do 3 different questions on here. We're talking about critical value, and there's 3 different ways that we're gonna be finding critical values in for this test. And so that paper that I sent out that has a handwritten cheat sheet, there was critical value, and there were 3 different things, and it's talking about z, t, and x. So this is for t. So right now we're not finding a critical value. Instead, we're just plugging these in basically. And so we're going to use our t calculator. So make sure to do the t under calculators. Don't do t stats, it's different. T calculator. And our degrees of freedom are exactly what it tells us. We're going to switch this sign around. If you're not sure, it says the area to the right. And so just make sure that your red is on the right. And so you're going to put in that decimal point after the equal sign. You'll just put that in. And then this is the same thing. And then this one, it's to the left now, so you're going to switch your sign around. And 22 degrees of freedom, and that point 10 is after the equal sign. This one should be a negative. So if it says to the left, it's going to be a negative. And if you accidentally do it to the right and you find that it's not a negative, it's the exact same number, just not negative, if that makes sense. You can do it this way if you don't want to mess around with your sign and just add a negative, and that's totally fine. Okay, so this is when we're really finding the critical values, and this is the thing that's going to transfer over into our normal calculators and chi-square calculators, the other 2 questions that we're going to do in this video. So this is what we're finding right here, basically. Is it's asking us to find the critical value of t alpha divided by 2. And our equation, first we got to find alpha. And so that equation is going to be our percentage equals 1 minus alpha times by 100%. And so we're going to start out with that 50% that it gives us. So we're going to divide it by 100. It's going to give us 0.5. And then basically what we can do is we can do 1 minus 0.5. And in this case, it's going to be 0.5. And so that is our alpha. But we are finding this, so you do that divided by 2. So this 0.25 is what we're going to be plugging in on the decimal side. And so once again, we're going to use for this one, we're going to use t-stats, or our t-calculator. Our degrees of freedom, it tells us right there is 25. And then that 0.25 that we found is right there. We need to switch this around so that it's on the right. And that's our value right there. Okay, so then we're going to do question 14 of the review. And so this one is what we were just doing, but now it's a z. And so same thing that we did here. So it's going to be the exact same thing, except for it's a z. And so we start out with, in this case, it's a 91% equals 1 minus alpha times 100. When we divide by 100, and then we're going to do 0.91 equals 1 minus alpha, and then that's the same thing as 1 minus 0.91 equals alpha, and so this is going to be 0.09. And then once again we have to divide that by 2. So this is the number that we're going to be putting into our calculator. So this is z. So on that cheat sheet we look at, and it's going to be a normal calculator. These are going to stay the same, and we're going to put in this number right here into right there. And it's not going to be a negative, so you can either flip the sign if you want. Oops. Or you can just take out the negative with whatever you put it in. Oh, 2 decimal places, sorry guys. Okay, so that's how you do 1 for the z with a normal calculator. Now we're doing question 30 of the test review. And this is going to be using a chi-square calculator because it's this x one. And so we're going to do the same thing as we did here. Sorry. Except for now, this is going to be our x. Okay. And so once again, we do 95 equals 1 minus alpha times 100, just like what it tells us right there. Divide by 100, 0.95 equals 1 minus alpha, and then that's the same thing as 1 minus 0.95, then equals 0.05, and then we have to divide 0.05 by 2. And then that's the number we're going to plug into our calculator. And so, like I said, with the x, it's going to be our chi-square calculator. Our degrees of freedom is n minus 1. So in this case, it's going to be 9. And then we're going to plug in this number, 0.025, into our equal side. And then if it's 1 minus alpha divided by 2, it's going to be this lower number. So if you switch the sign, this one is going to be just your normal x squared alpha divided by 2. But this is the one that it's asking for. So yeah, if there's a 1 minus, then that means to the left. And then this one is to the right. If you're ever in doubt with that, of where to put your sign, just plug it in both, and the lesser number will be the one that has the 1 minus in it. And so that's how you do critical values.